In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to blur background in Darktable. Darktable doesn't have a single background blur button like some other editors, but you can get a clean, natural blur by combining a blur module with masking, so only the background gets softened while your subject stays sharp. Start by opening your image in Darkroom view. Lighttable is for browsing and organizing. Darkroom is where the editing happens. Once you're in Darkroom, pick a blur tool. The Blurs module gives you several looks. Lens blur can mimic shallow depth of field and a more photographic bokeh. Gaussian blur offers a smooth, even softening, and motion blur adds directional streaks if you're going for a stylized effect. There's also Sensorize, which applies a Gaussian-style blur that can work for creative softening. Choose the one that matches the feel you want. For a portrait-style background blur, lens blur or Gaussian blur is a great starting point. With your blur module selected, set up a mask so you only affect the background. Click Masking in the module. If you want full control, use a drawn mask and paint on the background around your subject. Adjust your brush size and hardness so you can get close to edges without creating harsh lines. If the background differs in color or brightness from your subject, a parametric mask can speed things up by selecting pixels based on tone or color ranges. You can also mix a drawn mask with parametric conditions to fine-tune tricky areas like hair or gaps. Refine the mask edges so the transition looks natural. Use feathering to soften the edge and the mask blur slider to further smooth the boundary. Toggle the mask preview to make sure it's covering only the background. If your selection ends up on the subject instead, simply invert the mask to flip the area being affected. Now dial in the blur strength. Increase the radius gradually until the background looks gently out of focus. Subtlety usually sells the effect best. Too much blur can make the subject look cut out. Keep an eye on edges, especially around hair, glasses, or fine details. If you see halos, ease back on the radius or add a touch more feathering to the mask. If the blur feels uneven, revisit the mask and clean up any missed spots. When you're happy with the look, you're done. You've created a convincing background blur in Darktable using a blur module and targeted masking while keeping your subject crisp and natural.